Hey there, Matt Wicks here from SSW TV. We're here at NDC Sydney. I'm here with Mike Benkovich. Mike, how are you going?
I'm doing really good. It's good to be here.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, we just wanted to chat about cloud governance, and I think the first thing I'd want to clarify is, what is cloud governance and why should we care about it?
I know, exactly. I mean, a lot of people look at the word governance and it's like it leads to this kind of idea of, it's something big and deep. And it's like, it's actually just a model of how do I name things? How do I automate things? How do I use, tools to make resources consistent when I go out and do deployments of things?
That sounds like just like a whole bunch of rules that I have to follow and, you must do it this way.
I think that you could look at it like that.
Yeah.
And there's like a governance model where I want to get to, where I'm like trying to get people to do it a certain way. But everyone who is a cloud developer has gotten the stuff to deploy somehow, whether it's I went out the portal, I clicked on deploy and created these applications, or I did an ARM template, or I did a Terraform, or I did Pulumi, or I did whatever it is. But it's like there are ways we get to being able to go out and build and deliver solutions, and then looking at, okay, here's where we are, and here's where we want to get to. And I think that in a well-governed cloud, there are some things that you really want to kind of drive towards. Standards around, and there's three main things that I talk about. Mm-hmm. Your infrastructure as code, which is how do I create and manage the pieces that get deployed.
So you don't have to go and click on the portal.
Don't click on the portal.
Yep.
But it's Terraform, it might be Bicep, it might be whatever it is, but it's a repeatable way.
Codifies it. Yeah.
It codifies it.
Yeah.
Right. And and running that code, that's the second pillar, which is the automation. How do I use Azure DevOps? Do I use GitHub Actions? Do I use something else, AppVeyor or some other tool or Ansible to go out and run these things for me? So if you have the infrastructure as code and you have the automation pieces, the third thing you really need is understanding the standards around how it is that we're going to do it. Like, how do I name things? Do I add tags? How do I make things so that I end up with a livable cloud that I can evolve on and own and be able to go out and build on top of?
So what I'm hearing is they're not the rules are there the standards are there to make it predictable and repeatable.
Right, exactly. And the more we can step back, I mean, the trouble is, I've worked in a lot of organizations, and when you've got a lot of different consulting companies coming in, everyone wants to define their own standards. Mm-hmm. And if everyone defines their own standards, you have no standards.
I think there's an XKCD comic about this.
There is.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, if you have no idea where you're going, any road will take you there. Mm-hmm. And stepping back and saying, well, we're going to, name our resources, this way. We're going to, one of the big challenges is how do I organize subscriptions and the actual taxonomy of organization, like resource groups and management groups, and backing up and saying, okay, this is production, this is non-production. In production, we have some policies that we need to see, whether it's compliance for HIPAA, whether it's compliance for ISO 2700 or whatever it is. There are some compliance things that we can do at the subscription level that can then flow through to everyone that builds there. And so when I look at what is a well-governed cloud, I step back and say, how do I identify what those things are so that we can actually build something that's useful?
So is this kind of like setting up like group policy objects? So in the Windows nomenclature, you set up these policies on certain servers. We want these things turned on or off.
Right, exactly. I want encryption. I want to have whatever it is. I want to have monitoring and logging. I want to have observability. It's taking that cloud, but making it an operational cloud that we can operationalize. And operationalizing means different things, because it's like developers go out and build things, and they need a certain level of access. So how do I make sure that my access, my RBAC, or role-based access control, how do I assign the right levels of access so that people that are running the system can do what they need to do, right? And so that all kind of plays back together to, cost management, resources, consistency. There's a bunch of different things that kind of define what a well-governed cloud looks like.
So the old consultant adage, it depends. So for everyone, it's going to be slightly different.
Right.
But the three tenets still apply.
Right.
So you still want it, the infrastructure as code and automation in place so that you get that repeatable experience. And
identifying what it is that model looks like for the, we're naming it this way. We're using things in a certain way. So we can drive, a repeatable, livable experience. One of the challenges I think with the cloud is I've got development teams that are going out and trying things out, but then we want to turn that into production livable code. Well, in dev and test, I don't necessarily want to spend the same way. So, okay, there's an opportunity there for cost savings by declaring these things as dev test subscriptions. And inside of Azure or different clouds, there's ways you can go out and do that, which then when we do graduate to the production level, then it's like, here's how we can go. So I do a talk, it's called Permit to Cloud, and it talks about how do I create something that is able to use the cloud as my hosting model.
Okay.
And in permit to cloud, there's like permit to build and permit to operate are two different concepts. The permit to build means I'm going to use services, whatever they are. They may be preview, they might be release, they might be different kinds of things. But in order to go to permit to operate, once I graduate from this and I'm going, we're going to production, now I need to be able to specify, okay, these things are release modules. I've got support. I've got the ability to call and, was it one throat to throttle?
One throat to choke.
Exactly, if things go wrong. And having, that piece, I think is a critical part of looking at how we do our governance model is how do I get to a place that I can operationalize it and be able to live with it?
Yeah, I was looking at .NET Aspire recently.
Oh, yeah.
And the stuff that they're talking about for the next preview was pretty cool because so in .NET Aspire you have your app host, which defines all the different. It's a distributed application that you're building. You pull in. I want a Redis. I want a database. I want a this. I want a that. And you get them to you get all the different pieces to reference each other as, this, my web API depends on my database.
Right.
Or something like that. And then it injects all the configuration into there.
Right. And
that was really cool because that's an operational piece that, you usually have to think about and you configure in Bicep and whatnot. But this is kind of building it out for me. And the other cool thing was when I'm defining, I need a storage account. So I pull in a NuGet package with the Bicep in there and the extension methods already codified. Right. I call it, it's using the Bicep file that my infrastructure team has already vetted, RBAC set up, it meets whatever compliance is required.
Right.
And I know that when I deploy it, it's going to have automatic tick of approval because it's already been vetted.
Well, that's the beautiful thing. Aspire is kind of a culmination of a number of different things that Microsoft has been doing for the last, number of years.
Yeah.
There's a project called TIE, which is containerization. They have AZD, which is the Azure Developer CLI. AZD does a great thing of taking code and adding the three things we talked about, the infrastructure as code, the automation, and then the standards so that we can create something that maps out to this template has the right names. It has the right things so that when we do the deployment, it's like, oh, here's dev, here's test, and it basically allows us to repeat that. And I think Aspire is a really interesting space that is just now, it's coming out, and it's going to be interesting to see how that impacts or pulls together a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. One of the things that the other things I liked about it was I don't need to troll through all these Bicep files to work out, are they meeting my compliance? I just say, which version of the NuGet package are you referencing?
Right.
That version. Okay, I can get a report in terms of all our applications, what things people are referencing. Since I'm publishing from a single source, all the apps will be done the same way.
In a similar way, and the Bicep templates are mapping out to things that we agreed on. So it's like creating what they used to call the golden template that had all of my way of doing things applied inside of it. And I'm just going out and pulling that in. And the nice thing about the Aspire and AZD is that it lets me create what those templates are so that my team doesn't have to even think about it. The developers can focus on their code and build value.
I need a database.
Bang. Boom. I need Redis.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I usually join a project, one of the first things I do is look and see when was the last time did they deploy to production.
Yeah.
Because that may or may not indicate, some other things happening.
Right.
What are some of the things that you look for when you first join on a project?
When I join a project, I tend to look at, where does the code live? How are they doing their branching? How are they doing their pulling together? Do they have the automation, CI/CD, and the build and the release, mindsets in place? What tools are they using? If it appears that there's a lot of manual work in between, then I go, there might be a way to have a conversation about this and try to bring it up to speed. But depending on the teams, it's interesting just where different clients will come from. And, in some cases, it's like they have a grand aspiration of getting to here. But, one of the challenges is that we live in certain days. And the journey to a well-governed cloud is not a, boom, I just go and I'm now well-governed and I'm done.
If it was that easy, everyone would do it.
Exactly. So this might be day 7, and we're at day 3. And we need to get through day 4, 5, and 6, which adds tagging, adds our cost management, maybe adds our observability and our logging, and then in day 7, we're now running something. But, day 18 over here has containerization, and now we're looking at modernizing our compute. And so now instead of running app services or something like that, now we're saying, microservices. And then you look at how do we split up the work on that. And so when I come into a new client, I'm looking to understand where are you at on this journey and how can I help you figure out where you want to get to so that 3 years from now, when I leave, or probably before then, that we're heading towards that path.
And everyone's journey is different, so everyone's path is different, and what they may not need microservices. Microservices
cost you something.
Sometimes, yeah.
Microservices that people sometimes say, "Oh wow, it's microservices." Like SOA was like everything. It's like object-oriented programming. Oh yeah, that's this. It's like all of these things are just the retread of the same ideas in different levels of maturity. You've got a system that works. That's the first key thing.
Yep.
It works.
You get some return on investment.
Monolith is not necessarily bad.
No.
If it delivers and makes smoke come out of the chimney, that's the key.
The most important thing is getting something to production.
Exactly, and being able to take and as I've worked with different customers, and it's like we have a monolith. Well, how do you split that up? And then how do you make it so that each team can be independently successful to continually do that? Is it 2 monoliths? Is it a distributed monolith? Is it, how do we get there? And so there's a lot of different architectures. There's a lot of different compute. There's a lot of different storage. SQL Server is not a bad thing.
No.
It does amazing stuff. People can talk about NoSQL is the future, but there's a problem it solves, and there's a way we can get there.
Horses for courses, definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been great, Mike.
Yeah, I appreciate the chance to chat about this.
So hopefully other people get to have a good experience on their journey to well-governed cloud.
The journey to a well-governed cloud is like a place that it's like you are somewhere and you want to get to somewhere else. And understanding why and what it is you're trying to do, I think that's going to be the fun part, and that's where we are, and that's the kind of stuff that I've been trying to help people figure out.
The how.
The how.
Yep.
The how and the where, and how do we get there? What's the next step?
Excellent. Well, hopefully people take their next steps soon.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Mike. This is Matt from SSW TV, signing off. Thanks for watching.
Cheers.